Well, how are we doing, Beatstar fans? This is IROStar505 here, and welcome to likely be the finale of the Beatstar Extreme tier list, except with a little twist, mind you. Since both games are coming to an end on October 31st, I want to give credit where it's due when I actually add Countrystar into the mix, since no one's ever made a tier list about the Countrystar Extremes too. And since both games are ending and Countrystar barely has any much of Extremes as the original game, it's time to combine them both together to give the finale of the Beatstar and Countrystar Standard and Deluxe Extreme tier list. So what are we waiting for? As I wasted your time with the introduction, let's begin. Now at this point, I'm pretty sure you all know how the Extreme tier list works, but for those who still don't know how, let me explain. I will be taking a look at all the Extremes from Beatstar and Countrystar, the Standard, Deluxe, and Encore Extremes. The scale will be between 1 star to 6 star, with 1 being the easiest and 6 being the hardest. Tier list will be based upon the following: DP and clearing status, and overall patterns and tricks around the charts. And once again, arrows will indicate when a song is close to moving up or down a tier. And of course, this is the finalized list. Basically, since the games are ending, there is no need to elaborate anymore on this list. It's based around player clearing status and DPing, so that should be enough to see where all of them land. So, let's finally stop talking and let's take a look at the finalized list, shall we? So as Ben Manson once said, and I'll say it one last time, presenting the Standard Extreme tier list, the final one for Beatstar and Countrystar. Let's start with the 1 stars. As per usual, not a lot has happened for Beatstar in the past few months. Flight of the Bumblebee still remains a 1 star here, a high 1 star for that regard. Huge perfect plus bar, and yes, the pattern here is super fast, but honestly gives no problems if you know what you're doing. It's not as difficult as many claim to be, though the Deluxe, it's a different story, but we'll get to that later. Let's start off now with the country extremes that made it here. Thank God I'm a Country Boy is definitely the easiest journey extreme in Countrystar, landing at a high 1 star. It's definitely a slow chart, but does pick up around the end here. It does have fun with the instrumentation, and does actually give a few tricks up here, but it does actually help the player strategize what they want to do here and gives a better glimpse of how country extremes do work. And of course, we have Whole Lotta Little here, which lands itself in the 1.5 territory. Definitely, this is my favorite 1 star chart out of the whole entire lineup. It really has a lot of fun with the instrumentation, the vocals, and it just has a lot of energy that makes you really smile. The chart is, with quote unquote, whole lot of fun. Now the 2 stars. Not a lot has happened for the 2 stars in the past recent months. The only few that actually came to join in Beatstar was Piano Sonata number 16, Trumpet Concerto, and the one, the only, the horrible Exit Code. For Piano and Trumpet Concerto, this belongs in the mid-tier of the 2 stars. Obviously, the charts here really do rely more on density or some hard tricks to be put on here. And yeah, if you're actually good at multitasking and actually knowing the repetition of patterns, Piano and Trumpet should not give you any troubles. On the contrary, Exit Code's the worst in the category too, because while yes, the chart does feel like it does try in a few glimpses, it's barely hardly to figure it out, and honestly, it's not that hard when you figure out the pattern if you just play it on mute. For Countrystar, we do have Sold here at the 2 star line. This one was closest to being a high 2 or 2.5, but when you look at the chart and actually playing it pretty well over here, the chart does really make sure that they're trying to help the player understand the instrumentation. It jumps back and forth between the whole entire guitar riffs and the singing over here, and yes, the drills here can actually do spell a little bit of trouble just pointing it to the 2.5, but I think a mid 2 is definitely the best place to put it. Speaking of which, the 2.5 seen only one change this time. Sweet Home Alabama Encore made it to the 2.5. I'm over here because compared to both the Beatstar and Countrystar version, it definitely does show that the chart here is trying to mimic the whole entire Deluxe from the Countrystar. And yes, while it does make for an extreme over here, albeit an imbalanced extreme, honestly, the first path and honestly the ending is not as hard as people may think, so it lands itself in 2.5. And now, the 3 stars. The 3 stars this time actually landed a few changes here for Beatstar, the one only being the Marriage of Figaro being a 3.5. Yes, this chart is pretty challenging, but honestly, that's only by the end. Stage 4 actually introduces a lot of spamming over here that does a lot to the player if you don't have enough stamina, and the stairs here really do take a hold here of actually trying to push it towards the 4 star, but the reason why it's at 3.5 is because it only tries by the very end. It's still a really good chart overall, but all of that energy was saved for the finale. And now Countrystar finally actually holds the hold over here. What we have over here is actually the three extremes here I think lands in a 3-star. Hardwood Floors, In America, and Freebird Solo. These ones will be easy to talk about. Hardwood Floors in America here land at the low 3-star. They definitely have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, and you do actually need to keep up with the beat in order to figure out everything. There's a lot of stairs here, a lot of tapping, a lot of everything. So you gotta be careful when actually trying to go over here trying to DP it. It's really hard once you get to know it, but it gets easier the more and more you practice. For Freebird Solo, this one was pretty debatable. This one was close to dropping to the 3-star, but more players were understanding here that the spamming here, especially by the end here, was really rapid. Yes, the perfect plus bar is big like a lot of Countrystar extremes, but when you actually get down to it, you need to be concentrating on how well you need to understand the patterns and the timing for this. It can wreck you if you're not careful. And as some may notice here, the one that did change from the last list was Riding, which dropped from a 4-star to a 3-star, and I think that's probably the best way to put it. Some players didn't notice here that it is actually more easier than something like Stand Up Tall, but I kind of disagree here. But I do agree here, it's probably not in the line for a 3-star, probably more in the line for a 3-star than a 4. Speaking of 4-stars, the only change we see in this one was the second The Devil Went Down to Georgia. The Charlie Daniels version is definitely harder than the Korn version, but still barely a 4-star. I feel like because it was actually practicing more and actually trying to charm more of the fiddling thing, it does actually do a bit more of actually trying to stand out more as a harder challenge for Countrystar than any other chart. And yeah, it is the hardest journey extreme we have in Countrystar, but compared to some of the others in Beatstar, it's not saying much. For the 5-stars here, nothing much change over here, except Italian Concerto finally cemented itself as a high 5-star. Yet is a very hard one to try to DP over here, and it is very, very tiring trying to figure out the whole entire timing here. But when you get down to it, unlike No One Knows over here, Italian Concerto is more standard with a whole entire usage of actually trying to put everything together. You just need to be careful about how well you tap over here, and it's not going to do you any much harm when you figure out the pattern. And lastly, and I can't believe this is happening, the 6-star had the final Countrystar Extreme being here, Call Me the Breeze Encore. Some may think this is a little unfair because this is definitely the hardest one for Countrystar, and some may think of it more as a 5-star. But when you think about it, this definitely blows every challenge from Countrystar out of the water. This is definitely its final boss here of how you want to actually do this entire chart. And in my opinion, this one definitely served of being the top dog of Countrystar, being the one sure that you need to practice every single extreme and try to DP everything before taking on this one. And it does a lot of amazing patterns here that the Deluxe of Call Me the Breeze never did. And I'm really glad that this Encore in particular took risk and it paid off. That's really beautiful how Countrystar ended this one with a bang for their extremes. So yeah, that is the standard extreme tier list for Beatstar and Countrystar, the final one. I think overall this definitely does describe here all the extremes for the games pretty well here. They definitely do deliver a lot more pretty challenging charts that go into the middle, mainly the 3-star, but once in a while they were able to actually give some beginner extremes like Whole Lotta Little, Remember Me, and To the Stars, but still can pull out a really cool or crazy challenge like Italian Concerto, Call Me the Breeze Encore. So that's it for the standards. Let's move on. And one last time we get to say, presenting the Deluxe Extreme tier list for Beatstar and Countrystar. Obviously, we definitely know who's actually the easiest one here. Kill V Main Deluxe. Still not moving from a 0.1 star and never will. This is the last time we're going to be talking about this, so be glad the most beginner song for an extreme is finally done. For the 1-star here, only one actually gets in here from Countrystar, and Beatstar for that matter. I Have a Hurricane Deluxe. This one kind of concerns me. I do think the patterns, at least the ones that do sporadically, does land itself a bit more into 2-star, but a lot of players, especially ones in Countrystar, say that this is the easiest one in Countrystar. While maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, I do think that indefinitely, yes, that does make sense, because when you play the rest of the ones on this list, it's definitely holding up more of a challenge over here. So definitely this one can just land in a high 1. For the 2-stars here, basically a few things actually just land over here. Let me start off with the Countrystar ones. Me on You over here is a low 2-star. Yes, it falls in the same realm as something like Freestyler Deluxe, where basically it's a straight pattern throughout. This one throws a little bit of tricks at you with the swipes, the jumping, and the solo. While definitely not hard, it's definitely something you need to be careful of. And of course, kind of like the standard list, we have Whole Lotta Little and Thank God I'm a Country Boy Deluxe is landing at a high 2. Whole lot of little deluxe here actually does utilize better when it actually comes to the lyrical power, and at the ending here, the instrumentation plays a really good trick on you, but it's just barely a step up from the whole entire difficulty of the standard, and definitely lands at a high too. And the same does apply for Thank God I'm a Country Boy Deluxe over here, because the ending here really does throw a shocker here when it's only playing the instrumental, and you gotta be careful when you're actually trying to throw itself off here with the swipes. Now the 3 stars here, we finally get the last 2 known newest deluxe extremes for Beatstar. I believe in a thing called Love. Deluxe here actually looks like a 1 star in comparison over here, but this is one of the rarest cases I've ever seen in a deluxe extreme where the ending here threw this extreme up 2 levels. This may feel a bit unfair, but comparing something like Walk Deluxe with a solo here just barely pushes it up to a 2.5, I can definitely see that I believe in a thing called Love lands at a 3. It plays nice on you for the first few minutes until the ending throws a huge entire chain at you. And of course, we actually have here the Thieving Magpie Deluxe, landing at a low 3, and I definitely think that's probably the best way to put it. There's a lot of stairs here, and I do mean a lot of stairs, that are very slow and can trick you up, but they shouldn't be a problem if you're good at stairs. And of course, we have 3 more country deluxes here. We have Soul Deluxe, La Garage Deluxe, and Barn Burner Deluxe. The highest of the 3 is definitely La Garage Deluxe here, which actually does have a few tricks up its sleeve, like the whole entire Eagles Deluxe switching paths over here. And the ending here, we have to jump crazy and actually trying to figure out where the rest of the swipes are. And of course, we have Soul Deluxe, as I mentioned before, which does play a lot more with the piano riffs, and of course, the solo at the end and the beautiful rails was perfect. And of course, Barn Burner Deluxe really did pull off how well you can actually have fun with the solo, mixing around all instrumentations and giving it a whole entire use of giving good fun. The 4 stars here have the rest of the country extremes. Hardwood Force Deluxe is a low 4, and American Freebird Deluxes are basically 4s because they follow in the same pattern, trying to trick up patterns with more charting or more spans. And of course, the hardest of the countries is The Devil Went Down to Georgia Deluxe from Charlie Daniels being a high 4. This definitely plays around with the whole entire concept pretty well, and they definitely rearrange the spams and the stairs here, which does trick you up really well. However, it doesn't land at a 5 because, honestly, similar to the Corn version, you just need to be ready to get on with these things. But unlike that one, this one doesn't have an awkward crunch, so you need to actually figure out everything perfectly well here and practice within the reach. For last of Beatstar, we have Ronda a la Turca Deluxe here. I mentioned before in a short that it was a low 5, but replaying it now and players actually understanding it, it definitely lands at a high 4. You can call it a 5 here if you want, because yes, I do agree stage 4 can actually trick you up with the micros when you get going, but mostly it's just more of density over difficulty. If you do understand the pattern right away, just practice a little bit more with the stairs here and you should be fine. And for the 5 stars, the final last deluxe extreme here for Beatstar is Flight of the Bumblebee Deluxe, landing at a high 5 star. This is definitely the most controversial opinion. And yes, it involves a lot of spamming, it's really fast, and does involve a lot of practice. However, the 4 above it definitely do a bit more to stand out in terms of solo, unexpected difficulty, and overall making the players think that they need to earn that DP. Flight of the Bumblebee Deluxe is more repetitively difficult. It's definitely the hardest stamina chart in the game in terms of giving everything you got. But compared to the other 4, this one barely misses the challenge mark. But if you think this is 6 star, then by all means call it a 6 star. Whew. So yes, that is the finalized Deluxe Extreme tier list for Beatstar and Countrystar. When you get Deluxes out of the way here by actually upgrading either normals, hards, or already extremes, you can tell they can mostly do a really good job with the patterns, and I do think a handful of them do land in the 3 to 4 line, which is the best way to describe it. The Deluxe was a really great place in order to actually capitalize on trying to improve charts when needed, and most of the time they did a great job. So it's time to bid a fond farewell for the Deluxe Extreme tier list, as we will miss you. And lastly, I would like to give a fond farewell to the extreme difficulty. While I haven't DP'd all extremes, I have DP'd enough extremes, enough to actually realize that this difficulty was a lot of fun in Beatstar and gave us some of the best charts I've ever played in the game. The best way to describe extremes is basically trying to challenge yourself. Try to challenge even in the introductory ones if you're really ready for the hardest charts. And it does make me feel so happy and so determined to DP1 that it feels like a really fun time. So, a fond goodbye to the extreme difficulty, as when October 31st happens, we will all miss the daredevil itself, the extreme difficulty. And I think that's the best place to wrap up the video. Once again, special thanks to the inspiration, Ben Matson and Dan, for the creation of this list and actually trying to help me create the finalized list of all time. This was a really fun ride to actually keep the torch going till the end of the game, and I must say it was definitely worth it. Special thanks to the Beatstar Discord community and the Beatstar Handbook, aka the Countrystar Discord community as well, let's not forget that. And lastly, all of you for watching from the very beginning. I'm really determined and happy that the whole entire series ended off on such a happy note. Well, bittersweet note if you will, since the game is ending, but I'm really glad I can give you one last tier list before the game's done. So thank you all so much for watching this video. From the bottom of my heart, it really means a lot to me that you all enjoyed it. And the hard tier list will be out soon, probably later in the month or next month. But regardless, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.